You need to take notes as we go. You do have access to the PowerPoint. If you would like to take notes in the note area of the PowerPoint, that's fine. If you don't want the PowerPoint in front of you, that's fine. What you can't do is ignore it. And what you shouldn't do is just write down the words that are on the slide. It's important that you pay attention to what I'm telling and the tales I tell, because the words on the slide, while they're important, they're just a guide for me. They explain what I want to cover in a very general sense, and they won't give you the information you need. I might have 4 words on a slide and talk for 10 minutes and tell you a couple of stories about it. So it's important that you take notes on the story, not just the words on the slide. There are certain objectives to Chapter 1. We're going to talk about networks in regular, everyday, today life. My Internet Engineering 2 are talking about converged networks, how the networks are multiple pieces. We'll talk about that later. Most of the jobs are in small and medium-sized businesses. Small business is any business that has under 50 employees. Medium-sized business is 50 to 500 employees. The school district has about 700 employees, so we're actually, if we were a private business, would be considered a large organization. It's unusual to be in one town and be that large, or only one town and be that large. It has to do with the people-centric nature of our business. So we'll talk about what you would see in a small and medium-sized business network, and more specifically those characteristics so that your users can get their work done and communicate and can, if they need to, sell more product, whatever it happens to be. There are certain trends that we'll cover, looking at where we're headed as an industry, because that's important too. Knowing where you're going is just as important as knowing where you are. Let's talk about globally connected networks. And you know this stuff because you live in this world. Fixed computing, where the devices are in labs or at offices and you go to them, ruled prior to about 2000. And you see on this chart that prior to 95, you had some computers, lots and lots of computers. This is called a bathtub S, because I don't know why it's called that, actually. I would explain why that's a bathtub S, but I can't remember why it's called that. It has some economics term, and it was explained to me in a way that I don't remember enough today, so I'm not going to tell you that. But this is an overlapping bathtub S, is actually the type of chart we're seeing. And about every 13 years, you doubled the number of machines in the era of fixed computing. So from 0 machines or extremely small numbers, you started having a trickle, and then a lot more, and it doubled every 13 years, starting in the 80s, really. You start getting mobility in the early 2000s. Really, just before that, you had a handful of laptops, or at least luggables. You had those before. My dad had an Osborne luggable. It was about 15 to 20 pounds, but it was transportable. You could move it from place to place. He actually still has it. It, I think, may still work. He doesn't use it in his business, but he still owns it. But it's mobile. And so you had almost none, and then you had a few of the early laptops, and now, heck, everybody uses laptops. By 2011, that was estimated at 10 billion devices, because that includes your phones, that includes tablets, that includes laptops. And now in 2011, we start the age of devices, the Internet of Things, where you might have a smart fridge, where it would keep track of the expiration dates of your milk, for instance, so that you're not going to end up either running out of milk because it knows when you're low, or having expired milk that makes everybody in your household sick. That would be bad. Most people don't like being sick. You can choose or not to enjoy being sick. Say again? Companies will have to work together, and it's actually a huge problem. With fixed computing, we doubled every 13 years. So at 1.4 years, we doubled the number of mobile devices. Internet of Things, it's doubling every year. But a big problem is that the devices can't communicate with each other. Why a little bit a bit? It's not just a money issue. That's a really good point, and let me stop. He said the company wants the money all for itself, doesn't want to share. But the reality is not that. It's that they developed it at their company, and they don't know how to share it. But they do recognize something, and that's that if they don't work together, people aren't going to buy it. Yes?
I was watching an interview with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, and they were talking about how the computer industry is one of the most where there is collaboration as well as competition in certain sectors.
Certain pieces, yeah. Let me give an example that we'll study a lot in here. Ethernet, the network itself. I can pick any network vendor for my card that goes in my computer, any network vendor that makes the cable, any vendor that makes the ends of cables. You guys made cables last year, so you remember that. Any vendor who makes the switch on the other end, and it'll all work together. And your Wi-Fi is an even better example. You don't even know most of the time the brand name of the wireless access point you connect to, your Wi-Fi router. You don't know the brand name of the stuff that's inside it, and you don't care. Because you can get access. That's just really the way this industry has gone, and collaboration is important. In the home, we're not there yet with the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Everything. And I have a video on that I won't view today because it's not viewable today, because it's obnoxious today. Welcome to my world. It was down this morning. It might be up now, but the idea is that we will eventually have a home where all of your devices communicate. Every electrical outlet, every light bulb, not just every light fixture, but even down to every light bulb, is a connected device and can give information and take information. Already you have smart locks where you could use your smartphone and it'll automatically unlock the door as you come close.
I want the live toaster can inside of my toaster.
The live toaster can exists in development. It is not a commercial product yet, but it's coming. Don't encourage him. Let's just keep going. And that brings us to our last one, the Internet of Everything. Everything is going to be posted. I was talking with somebody yesterday who is actually an IT director of City of Davis. You might have heard of them. They have lots of bikes there.
Too many bikes.
Yes, but let's move on. She's one of their IT people, and I met her because her sister-in-law, my neighbor, died. And so I was over there talking to my neighbor, the husband, and she was there with her brother. And anyway, the idea that you're going to wire everything. They already are planning to wire everything. Many cities, and Davis is not one yet, have wired all of their street lights into a grid network, so that they can pass data about the street light itself. Is it burnt out? Is it on? Is it off? Whatever it happens to be. Does it work? Does it not work? Is it drawing more power than expected? Is it drawing less power? Whatever is wrong, maybe they find that there's a lot of light pollution in a particular area, and the light is just reporting that, oh, darkness came later than I expected because maybe somebody's shining a spotlight on it or something. Whatever it happens to be, whatever anomaly, they're wiring the lights themselves. It's not a large leap from there to consistent traffic monitoring. Those same monitors, this same grid could be set up to monitor every bit of traffic on even the smallest side streets for minimal extra money. Central Park, New York. I was reading an article a couple of weeks ago about this. They have about 500,000 trees in Central Park. It's big. It's about the size of Rhode Island. That doesn't take much because Rhode Island is 2 hours across the long way in traffic. In Rhode Island, there's a lot of corn grown there too. It is the most densely populated state of the union, but it's also because it's smaller than Yolo County. Yeah, it's smaller than Yolo County.
There's heck of trees.
Anyway, Central Park, New York has about 500,000 trees, and they have a tag on each one. Every tree is numbered. They just tack a tag to them so they keep track of them. I mean, 500,000, you got to do something. You can't remember, oh, gee, which tree is this? You got to have a database of trees.
What would be an occasion where you need to remember about a specific
Disease. If a particular group of trees which were planted at the same time starts getting diseased, you can follow that if you're keeping track of it.
call the CDC?
Yes,
The
but
CD trees.
permission granted to slap him senseless. It doesn't take much. But they actually have come up with a sensor that they've proposed. It looks it's a little thicker than their existing ones, but looks a lot like their existing tags, the numbers. Pokes in the tree, but it's a wireless grid sensor. It'll take health information about the tree. It can be programmed to do other things too, like how much light does it get? Is it, the wind speed, the temperature? Say again? Well, it's designed for outdoor use. It's solar powered. So this little plate has a solar cell in it and has a sensor, has a series of sensors in it, has a number imprinted on it, so it looks just like the plates they've already got on there. And then because of the grid network that it overlays with, it can pass all that information back. And so a central computer can now gather all this information about every single tree. Can you imagine getting health information about every single tree? And then if there's a problem, maybe one set of trees is reporting some weird behavior. I don't know, maybe it's wilting even though it's getting plenty of water. Or maybe it's wilting because it's not getting enough water. The trees themselves become your network. It's not a step beyond, it's not a large step to sentience, yes. What do you want, and it better be halfway decent?
No, exactly.
Good.
How many people do you think have jobs now analyzing all this?
The analysis will actually fall to the people who are already analyzing it. They'll just have a lot more data, and the computers will have a lot more information for them. And so from a health perspective, they'll be able to catch problems and cure the problems with the trees before they occur, or before they're serious. Maybe trees need more mulch or need more of something. But they can analyze that data automatically, and to the public, it looks like they're just replacing the tree tags that already are there. It's going to be an interesting application because everything will be wired. Go ahead.
Why not open source it so
It
everyone
is.
can have access to it?
Because it's in development now.
Oh, okay.
It's not an actual product. It's where they're going that I'm describing. I'm not describing what's shipping. So if you go to New York right now, you won't see that on the trees, but you will in the next 5 years. That's where we are with the Internet of Things. Frankly, I don't know that I want my front door lock to be on the Internet. Because of hackers, yes.
Maybe you could just view things long.
Internet of Things. It can be done today. You could buy a lock today that's on the Internet. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that because I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. It becomes a security risk. Do I want them to unlock my door by stealing my phone and going close, or by hacking into my door lock? I don't know that I'm comfortable with that. Hold on, I want to hear Daniel. And that's a really important thing. Hold on to that for a second, because I want you to say that again in a minute, okay?
Maybe just the observing.
I want to be back here. I want you to stand up and say that to everybody, Daniel, while I'm listening to you with the microphone. The old school comment.
You gotta have old school stuff because it's better.
There you go. And that's really true sometimes. And we'll use door locks as our example, but you could pick 100 locks. 100. That was a really bad thing. You don't want to pick 100 locks because probably you guys would get caught. The odds are not in your favor. No. Okay. This is more Hunger Games than it is Skyrim. But yeah, sometimes an old-fashioned lock with all of the downside. Because frankly, if I'm having somebody deliver a package and I want them to put it in my front door, it'd be really nice for me to push a button and have the door unlock. And I'm here at school. I push a button on my phone, the door unlocks, they put it in, they close the door, I push a button, the lock locks again. That'd be really a cool thing. Goes back to the days when the milkman or the iceman would deliver right into your kitchen. But then back then you left the back door open. Or you had an ice chute in the back. Or first off, you have to trust the people. I trust my mail carrier, for instance. In the summertime, especially if it's stuff that just doesn't fit easily in the mailbox, because I have a weird mail slot. I have a 6-year-old house. Deal with it. Sometimes he'll just open the front door and put it on the counter right there inside and go. I trust him impeccably to do that. And in areas when I would trust my mailman, or no, my milkman, I'll use my grandmother's neighborhood in Sacramento, Elmhurst. Most of the time she trusted the milkman, and she'd leave the back porch door open. But then they got a milkman they didn't trust completely, and they put an ice box in the back for the delivery. And that's just time. Frankly, I don't think they ever locked that back door until I was an adult. And by that time, my grandmother's in her 90s, and so we kept the back door locked more because we didn't trust the neighbor's dog to not push it open and annoy her, and she was in her 90s. But you know, that's more we're locking the door for not for security reasons, but because we're just annoyed with the neighbor's dog. But Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, that's where we are now. Your phones, but how about your keys? Some of you have dongles on your key rings that will unlock the door without you pushing a button, just proximity. Mrs. A had one a couple of years ago that if it was in her purse, as she walked to the door, it would unlock the door. She would push a button to unlock all the doors, but as she walked up to her car, the driver's door would unlock. And if that dongle was physically in the four walls of the car, and she left it in her purse, it would let her start the car. It was an authentication thing. Now let's take that the next step, though. Let's take that the next step. What's the next step on that? No, the legit use of it.
Legitimate use of it is it's safety. You're able to get in your car. You don't have to worry about your car being keys locked to the car.
You're not going to lock the keys in the car. What if I do lock the keys in the car? Maybe the battery goes dead on my little dongle thing.
Then you're old school.
Why would I want that car to be on the internet?
Oh, you can just go into authentication and go into your phone and go.
And it's unlocked. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I like the sound effects that went with it. That.
My phone's out.
Yeah, I like the extra sound effects. I'm kind of a sound effects kind of guy. We ought to have sound effects in here. Work on that. It's your brother's fault. So yeah, everything could be there. If there's one of these ride services, zip cars. Zip cars, the reader that opens or that locks and unlocks the car is an internet device.
But say something about on the other end.
Please.
It's just authentication. Anything with like a wireless signal that can match that frequency to connect with the thing door if you use a cryptographic cracker program.
Yeah.
Is that you can authenticate it if you're just using your phone.
You're right that one of the huge downsides could be that someone could break in. And that's why you use rotating codes or rolling codes depending on which you're doing. But it is a huge security problem. Just like if somebody gets a hold of my smartphone, and I've set it up that as I walk to my front door, the smartphone automatically unlocks my front door. Now somebody steals my phone and unlocks my front door, and now I've had all my stuff stolen. That's bad.
Well, that's not the same as someone stealing.
It's not that much different than someone stealing my key, except that I keep a lot more information on my phone than I do on my keyring. I mean, right. You got a ton of other problems too. How easy it would be to steal it. Here, I mean, this is my key, my house keys. I really don't have a lot of information there unless you want my library card.
I do.
No, I'm not going to share my library card with you.
Library card.
So, Internet of Everything. Everything is together. Everything is connected. And huge problems with security, but huge advantages too. Package delivery. Just keeping track of your kids. Maybe my daughter gets locked out. A friend of hers drops her off. She didn't have her key with her. I can unlock it from here. That'd be really a nice feature. Huge security implications. Or right now I'm almost out of milk. The fact that my refrigerator could remind me that I need to drop by the store on my way home to pick up milk would be a really nice feature some days. Yes?
Could create a shopping list for you.
Or keep track. If I say, here's the stuff I want, and as I use it, it keeps track of that. And okay, you're almost out of eggs. Thank you.
Finance and put it right into your Excel.
And that exists today because one of the major benefits is that you've got that right in your budget information. Okay, you're spending this much on that. You're doing this and that, whatever it happens to be. A lot of connection to help you in your real world. But what if somebody stole that data? Now they know how I eat. Who would want to know that? The government probably is not interested in that.
China, grocery store.
Maybe. Okay, grocery stores want to know which brand of muffins I buy or which brand of pasta I buy, and what might they want? So we're not talking about that kind of. They could put sales, probably not on the product I want. They would sell that information to a competitor who says, okay, you're using this pasta brand, I'll give you a coupon for that pasta brand and shift me as a customer.
Slowly convert everyone to one brand so they have to carry less things.
They're doing that.
Facebook and other social media sells your information
Yeah.
anyway. So
You are the product. Those loyalty cards that you get at stores, you are the product. You are not they're paying you for your information. Hopefully you get a little discount off those. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But you are the product. That's exactly what's happening. So that's where the downside lies. Your information has value. It's just like the GPS data that's embedded in the photos you take on your phones. I could track where you are and where you generally are. I could find your house. We pretty much live here, yeah. But I could find your house by the metadata on the photos you post to Facebook. And Facebook does strip that data out. But I'm giving that as an example. And I know that Google Plus for a while actually left it in and would track, okay, you make a lot of pictures here, you make a lot of pictures there, you make a lot of pictures there. They're tracking you. It's really easy to do, and now that's an awful lot of information that could be useful to the bad guys.
Yeah, like the new update for Facebook, whatever, the Messenger one or whatever, I heard that like it's so Facebook can like go through your pictures and everything.
The update to Messenger has the exact same permissions as the regular app for Facebook. People just got panicked because people are morons. Take their money. And the key is the permissions for Facebook Messenger are exactly the same that what Facebook needs anyway for the app to run. It's nothing beyond that. So long as you realize that in social media you are the product, yes, you're using it, but you might claim you get some benefit, they're selling you. You're giving them information and they're selling it to advertisers. You're the product there, and Messenger is just another way of you being a product.
That's really
On the
losing
messages, like on messages, it even used to be you could you can opt out of it, but you can access the GPS and it can tell you like straight where you are.
Yes, and that's still true. Almost all of your smartphones can do that already.
I mean, I haven't opted out of it, but
Nobody does because it doesn't help you to opt out because they know that anyway. They know where you are within about 50 feet at any given time. If I wanted to find you and I could pay off a phone company, I would know where you are within a 50-foot range, and if you have a smartphone, within 2 meters. $50 and a less than scrupulous person at the phone company, and I'm done. I'm not offering to take out the hit on your friend. All right, so everything's connected. 50 billion things by 2020. They all have to connect somehow, and that's where the money is. The security and the connection is where the money is, and that's what I want for you, is money. I would like for you to be rich, even Anish.
5.3 things on average for the entire human on the planet.
5.3 things for every human being on the planet. Yeah, that's about right.
And eventually later in life you'll thank Mr. Bay by getting what he wants.
Yes, you will compensate me generously after you have become rich. Yes, that is a true statement. All right, everything's global. This room is what's called telepresence. You've probably have had a Skype call or a Google Hangout. That reminds me, I've got a Google Hangout first thing in the morning tomorrow. So you've had video conferencing. This takes it the next step. Telepresence. Notice that the room behind them looks a lot like the room on this side. The paint's the same color. Do you notice that? That's not an accident. These are high-def screens. It has a full surround sound system. It's controlled like a phone. And in fact, in every way, it is a phone. But those people are in another place. They might be in another city. They might be in the same building with you, but you usually don't do that. It's kind of fun to do that, and I did that with a group of students that I took to a telepresence suite, and one group was downstairs and the other group was upstairs. That was kind of fun. But when it's done right, a full telepresence suite like this, you can have a dozen people in a meeting, and they forget that they're not in the same city. I met a guy once who was telling about a meeting where he was meeting in a telepresence suite with another group of people who were in North Carolina. He was in San Jose. One of the guys in the meeting reached for a water bottle on the table. It was in South Carolina. His hand bumped against the screen. He forgot that it was in another side, on the other place. And you do that. You forget because the table makes a complete circle. And it's the same table. The plants are the same. The lights are the same. The paint is the same. The chairs are the same.
Why did they put so much effort?
We want you immersed in a case where you aren't sure that the other person is not in the same room with you. Yes, it does get that way. Now let's apply that to education, because in Michigan, University of Ann Arbor, or University of Michigan Ann Arbor, has a nursing program. But for some of their more advanced classes, bump him, would you? For some of their more advanced classes, they can't get enough students to make it go. About 4 hours away is another University of Michigan campus, and I can't remember the name of the town. It's not important for this. They also have a nursing program, and in some of the more advanced classes, they're too small to make it go. But it's also a 4-hour drive. That's too far to have the students commute. So they built a telepresence classroom. Floor to ceiling screens, high def. The students on one side have small risers, and their chairs are here. The students on the other side have small risers, and their chairs are there. Same carpet, same color paint, same wall coverings. I don't think the pictures are the same. They don't have the full suite. Yeah, you can have teleclasses where you have a screen that you can interact with the professors. You don't have a full suite. In this room, the instructor stands in the center of a circle, except that half the circle's in one city and half the circle's in the other city. And with surround cameras, you're not sure which side you're on sometimes. And the instructor that was quoted said they actually put a little dot in the middle so that you don't run into the wall. Because if you're in the center, you've got your console, which is identical to the console on the other side. So you've got the projector, but the projector shines over there with the students facing each other. Now you have one instructor who can teach in two different places at once, and the classes make. And it doesn't matter which campus that instructor's in. If we put that wall here, you guys could be in one place and you guys in another place, and as long as I watch out and don't hit the wall, we may not notice we're in two different places.
What if we are right now?
I can cross over, so we're not.
But now what?
That works. But then lectures and stuff. Well, what about labs?
You're right, it breaks down. It goes as far as it can go. You will need lab facilities at both, and for that you use lab techs, which you're already using anyway. But it extends, and now this advanced class that used to have 15 people now has 30 people in it. And you're able to save a lot of money, even though that room costs $250,000 to build. But they use it for a lot of other stuff too. I'm giving one example. They use it for 100 examples. Yeah. Well, it's the other part. More students. You can't really cut the teachers. Yeah, it's not cost effective for really small programs. Yes, that's where I'm going to. And yes, there are already teleclasses that you're suggesting, Lavdeep, that where you have the professor on a screen and they're physically somewhere else. That has existed for a decade or more. And cable TV classes for a decade before that. And I actually sat through one of those. I was physically in the same room with the professor. The biggest difference was the professor had to stay in one place because we had two remote facilities that we could occasionally hear, but they never did ask any decent questions. They're kind of doofuses. But we had one of the people who lived closer to one of those and didn't realize that he could watch it from over there, and so he just would go over there most of the time instead of coming all the way in. This was at Sac State. It was a closed circuit TV then. Now you would do it over the internet, probably. It really depends. There's 1,000 ways of actually doing that. But here, these people are in one room as far as they're concerned. They just didn't have to drive or fly. Saves a ton of money. Because now your company doesn't have to say, okay, we're going to fly you to the other side of the country. We're going to pay for your flight, pay for your hotel room, pay for your rental car, pay for your food while you're over there. You just drive home at the end of the day.
Yeah, they might have just been there for like.
Yeah, and if I actually have a friend who used to work for Cisco. I tell you about him a lot. When he was working with an international deal, he had to go to Belgium once. They wanted him in Belgium for some meeting. He never figured out why, and they told him late, so it was an expensive flight that Cisco had to pay for, and a long flight. He had to leave a day and a half early because it's 16 hours to fly to Belgium because of the way he had to be routed, because he was ordering so late. And then he was there for a 2-hour meeting, and they said, oh yeah, we thought you'd want to see this. We're do a ribbon cutting of something, and he was done. Why are you doing that to people? He had to leave on a Sunday morning. He got back on Tuesday night. He had been traveling about 40 hours of the 60 hours that he was gone, and got no real work done. That happens. Telepresence? Just dial me in. I'm there, and yeah,
It's like a wasteful.
it really was. And he complained to his boss that this was a waste, and they all agreed it was a waste and didn't do that to him again. Sometimes this doesn't work, though, and let me give you that example. There is nothing better than face-to-face contact when you're trying to sell stuff. And so when Maria is a sales agent, and she's going to be one of these high-powered 7-figure-a-year bonus salespeople someday. There's a decimal in there somewhere. But Maria's going to be this really high-powered saleswoman, and she may set up things on a teleconference. She may set up things on a telepresence. There's nothing like flying out to see your customer and physically being in the office with them to close the deal, especially your multi-million-dollar deals. This same friend, Jarrell, who I tell you about, one of his clients for a while was the U.S. Navy and the U.S. or the Department of Defense in general. He said generals don't do this. You can do this for a lieutenant colonel even. Above that, you'd better be face-to-face.
Well, they're older then too.
Well, but also they demand that you will respect them and say, if you want to sell it, you're gonna do some work for it, and part of the work is you're gonna come to me. So he was flying to Hawaii all the time and to Japan, and I talked to him once, and he was in Japan.
Where the admirals are.
Yeah, he was at headquarters Southeast Asia, and he was in Pearl all the time, and he hated it because you're working. You can't enjoy Hawaii because you're working. Okay, what is this? Anyway, so that's telepresence. Everything is attached, and everything is global, and that's across the network. How we learn is on the network, and that's why I can pass curriculum to you, and we can get YouTube videos and other videos. How we communicate with each other. Your phones are on the network. Your phones are just computers now. Say again?
They have processor, they have RAM.
Well, they're just computers. Processor, RAM, and a user interface. They are computers. They run software just like any other, but they're just network devices. They change how we're communicating with one another. Even how I communicate with you, because I'm going to record this lesson and store it on an internet-based site for you to view if you need to later. That's what I'm wearing, yeah. Yeah, I'm wearing a mic. You must have left before I started doing that. Change the way we work. My work is totally different. I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 8. The person I'm meeting with is in Livermore. She's not driving here, and I'm not driving there. And there is no teleportation. Instead, we're going to do a Google Hangout. We'll be able to get our work done. She will come on campus a little bit, because some things you really can't do. And especially when you're as old as me and it's hard. But for you guys, this is second nature. And an electronic whiteboard you put on there, and boom, you're done. And then finally, you guys play all the time online. Halo's a good example. Your other Portal. Say again? GTS charged? Okay. Whatever. GTA, I know that's a bad game for you guys because you're way too young for it, but all of these are internet-based games. Minecraft. What? Pokemon's online now?
Yeah,
apparently.
And Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's like the game gets cable, and we're just like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trade Pokemon.
Isn't that like a Pokemon show?
So, everything is changed. Networks are at all sorts of levels. Is this my last slide? I'm going to do this as my last slide. I know. Okay. You're familiar probably with your home network. And here it shows a desktop machine. A lot of you I know are in households that don't have desktop machines. You're just in laptop households, laptops plus tablets, plus phones. But some of you have, well, a lot of people are. I don't own a desktop unit in my house, but I have 7 computers. 8. Go ahead.
Now we have like TVs connected, though, like Chromecast, Apple
Right.
Roku,
All of those are in your home network. Stuff you'll see at home, and you might have a dozen devices. Your Roku, your Apple TV, your Chromecast, your game station of whatever the current Wii? Is that still one that's being PS2? I'm a bit behind on what the current... Tell me one of the...
N64.
PS64?
N64.
Oh, N64.
We already got the PS4.
PS4. All of these are network devices. So we now run a larger network at home than we did a generation ago, or even 5 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah, well, 3 years ago we had Apple TV at least,
A lot has changed.
and your Wii could connect.
Yeah. I mean, everything since like the Xbox, PS3
Right.
have been connected.
Everything's on your network. Small networks at home are designed for entertainment mostly and personal use. We moved to small office, home office networks, SOHO it's called. This is where the money is. Okay, I got Naziska's attention when I mentioned money. Here's why there's money in that. Someone who has a home-based business has a little bit of money but no time at all, and they rely on their network. A SOHO requires that, and a small business is the same way. They'll have one office with 2 or 3 rooms. The network is what they rely on. It's critical that their network operate. And this is the bulk of companies. If you look in Woodland, there's probably 200 small companies. Remember, this is anyone under 50 employees. Is So most of your agriculture business, most of your mechanical businesses, most of your offices are this way. Yeah, any of your contracting services are all this small that are based here in Woodland. You have some larger ones that are based in Sacramento. But anyone based here is small like this. And so they don't have dedicated IT folks.
So you have businesses grow up around them to support them, their IT needs.
That's where the money is. An individual going in, you are listening. You finally paid attention to what I said. An individual going in and saying, I can help you with your network needs. IT consulting for big companies is hard to get into. IT consulting for small companies is something high school kids can do.
Is it plugged in? Yes. Is it Apple cheap?
And you'd be surprised, because if they have a need, they might end up calling even you guys to be able to give them what they need.
The demand.
Well, there are plenty of suppliers, but suppliers in the high school realm or the college realm do what?
Entrepreneurial.
Okay, no. You're answering the wrong question. Let me ask the question a different way. What is true of a high school student ultimately?
They're young and they grew up in this technology.
You said 2 words there in the middle.
They're young,
The next.
grew up in
That stop there. You grow up. So, why is it a benefit for you as individuals to get into this industry? Why are there so many positions? What happened to last year's technician?
retired.
No, the 2 words you just said.
Oh.
Say the words again. Grew up. And what do a lot of people do when they grow up? What do you desperately want to do when you grow up?
Another meal.
The other thing. More important than that. How many of you would like to spend the entire rest of your life within the city limits of Woodland?
Move.
They move away, yes. So that's the benefit for you in the now, is that you're stuck here, because your mom's not going to let you move to another city for a few more years. Yes, I recognize this. You're here, your competition just moved away. Ha! There's a spot for you. Remember, I want you to be rich. And then eventually you'll move away and my students will move in. My students then will move into your spot of small business consulting. That's why there's so much available opportunity.
Well, $1
Yeah. In ICT, there are about 1 million jobs open today. Unless it's about this, I don't want it. So, small and home office networks, that's where the money is. Wiring, talking to them, helping them with problems, helping them get their network, helping them at a business see why they should have an Apple TV in their conference room. Yeah.
Consult with them about going on internet, such as owning a website.
Internet presence of all sorts. Yes, exactly. Social media is one you guys would be really awesome at. Most of you, except for Daniel, who doesn't use it. But the rest of you, you're the one who said you don't have a Facebook.
I have Instagram and Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter. So if we need an expert for Instagram, we're going to talk to Daniel. If we're going to have, who's a Facebook expert among you? Yeah. Among your friends, you can find people to help businesses with that. Lots of money in that. And then when their computers break down, you know somebody.
Yourself.
Probably you. Medium and larger networks are much bigger, hence the medium to larger. This is 50 employees to 500. We'll give you a medium. What kind of network do we run here at the school district? Okay. Smaller home network, small office, home office, medium, large. We're a large network. In fact, this campus has about 400 computers for the 1,400 of you. And that's just this campus, and they're all controlled centrally by the district. Some of these are wired computers, some of them are wireless. We have thin clients, we've got mobile users, we've got everything.
About how many of them are in this room and historically?
100.
What of the library?
I included that in the 400. But you're right. We run close to a fourth of them in here, of all computers on campus. I think we need more machines.
We don't want Skynet happening.
Yes, we do. As long as we're in control, we're cool with it. So, medium to large networks have different needs. First off, we got a lot of users. We're going to talk about security on large networks. The users can't do everything they want because they'll do stupid things like download viruses. Authentication is a big deal. Making sure that in the large network, the users who need access to Aries, the student attendance system, have access to it, but nobody else does. I don't have access to the full Aries. I only have access to Aries browser interface, ABI, which is just for me. I don't have access to anyone else's ABI. So I can't take attendance or look at attendance for a student who's not one of mine in my class, and even then it's limited to just that class, and this year it's limited to the day that class meets. So I can only mark, what are we, 7th period? I can only mark 7th period attendance on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I can't mark 7th period attendance on Wednesday. I can't mark 7th period attendance at all until I have you in that class that day. I can mark it anytime during that day. So if I were to mess up and mark you absent or present, I could fix that later in that day or earlier in that day. Although that would be weird.
So would like the VPs, the principal, and the other administrative staff, like they have access to the full amount?
Yes. Because they need that kind of access. But the principal can't change tenants. Can't mark a student absent or present. Yeah. If the vice principal's secretary can mark a student absent but can't mark a student present. Only the attendance clerk can mark a student present in a class, or the teacher of record in that. It's very much a separation of powers. The only person who can change an address on the system is the registrar and the counseling secretary. Who else would need to? I don't need to change a student address on the system, and so I can see it, but I don't have the rights to change it, and that's a good thing. Security is a big deal on your large networks. And of course, worldwide networks. Cisco is a global company. I'm going to pick on them. They have about 86,000 employees globally in 100 countries. That's big by every measure. Well, yeah, they have about 90% of the network gear is Cisco gear because it's high quality stuff. It costs. but it's high quality. So lots of network sizes. I'm going to stop. You have curriculum to read. I don't want you working on the study guide yet. I want you to read through the curriculum. I'm going to stop the recording and then upload it, so if you missed something about how I want Maria to be rich, for instance, you can review that section. Even Maria can review that section if she ever pays attention. There you go. All right, you're reading the curriculum. Go.